right. Now, what I did, like I said, this is the study portion. What I did was, all right, so what we're going to do is get into some random Gnostic quotes, and I'm going to elaborate on. Again, this show is for the study person. What I hope here is that you get an understanding of how humanity was thought of. So everything we're trying to celebrate is, see, once you get this understanding, maybe you will begin to understand that it is fine what happened to the Haitian people. They are free from this. It is absolutely fine. It's a joyous event to leave this thing. If you're going to pity the ones who are here. It is about leaving, and this was those people's paths. So in other words, it's all good. It's still joyous, and anything on that side now empowers us. This is why they want you to grieve, because when you grieve, you miss the fact that you have just gained an army. An army. And while you are worrying about this army, they'll entertain you with Avatar, but they'll really be doing the do, and then in these Olympian movies, they're going to kill that army that's supposed to rise up from Hades. The hell, which Earth really is, the underworld, is called Hades. Hades. They open up Pandora's box in Hades. So now they give you all these movies where they're fighting titans. That army that we could now have and can control, with these people going to the other side, we worrying about all this other bullshit, all these distractions. You get what I'm saying? Dumb shit like Precious. You know, that's a clearly an attack. So we got to know, what is it doing? Because I know people don't want to admit it. All you have to do is line your mind up, your thoughts, by hearing this and knowing this. Why decode Avatar, Panic? Because now that you know, it is no longer hidden. Therefore, if it's out in the light, it cannot work. You now have the ability, with just your thoughts, to end it. All right, so now we're going to give you some Gnostic quotes, and I'm going to elaborate on them. Right. This is the show, people. I want y'all to think and hear what the Gnostics thought. Now this knowledge, born out of their own meditations from the secret teachings which they claim to have had from Jesus or mystical ancestors, lead them to see a whole material creation as a product of God that is the enemy of man. Okay. Now, there was a Gnostic Jesus. It's not that same creature that everyone is praying to. There was a Gnostic Jesus. But the Gnostics taught that every man here is the Christ. It's about you, and this just represents your consciousness. Now, in Gnostic mythology, Yaldabaoth is what you call the demiurge. It's a deity that has created what we now call the third dimension. And it created what you call man. And it is based upon something that's greater. That's greater. And this is where you get, I am a jealous God, worship none but me. This is a representation of the ego. Sophia is the great mother in Gnosticism. The name Yaldabaoth means come here, child, because she made this child, let's say, without the breath of life, if you will. And it was such messed up, she blew it into the abyss. So when she said, come here, child, he fell into the abyss. Because he was so ignorant, he seeked to create something that was what he's seen above his head. An astral world to be his throne, and earth to plant his feet on. Now, in Kabbalah, you have the upper triad, then under this upper triad is called Daf. The first Sifra under Daf is called Chesed. Chesed is connected with Zeus. And Zeus is also Jupiter. And Jupiter, which I found out the channel, is also Ptah, the builder god. These, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 6 Sifras are known as the level of formation. That's how formation was built. Now, in Greek mythology, Kronos is Saturn. The third Sifra, Bina, is connected with Saturn. Saturn used to swallow his kids because he didn't want them to take over. His wife Rhea gave him a rock and hid Zeus And when Zeus was grown, he made Kronos throw up his brothers and sisters. This is nothing but the rest of the Sifras falling down the tree of life. Also, Chesed, the first Sifra under Thoth, is called Demiurge.
Demiurge, yes.
Demiurge. And if you look, the upper triangle points up, the other two point downwardly.
Yes, they point down.
So Phil will say, well, this is the world that folded over on itself. So if you look at that upper triangle, it's turned upside down. So it's a reflection of the true world. And then even that fell into another reflection. And then the leftover thing is what you call Malkuth, or earth. Right. So we are in a reflection of a reflection and an afterthought. This is nothing real about this down here. Your goal is to climb back up that tree. You could do that magically through meditation, but ultimately that's called the great work.
Yeah.
Now, and above that are what you call triple stage darkness, Ein Sof, Ein Sofar, 3 stages of darkness, or the nothingness. But this 3 stages of darkness is nothing more than this is nothing more than 3 trimesters of birth. Now, I've talked about this before, but let me be clear here. It's not nothingness, is not chaos in the classic sense. What it is the human brain is too feeble to conceptualize it. So what it does is it calls it nothingness as a concept. Later on, this became heaven, going on to glory, the upper room,
right.
The sweet by and by, nirvana, bliss, happily ever after. Things to kind of tell you, it's a great place, but as soon as you conceptualize it, you humanize it, therefore you bring it down. So, and I talked about a monkey may say bananas and peanuts is the hottest shit, but for you, that bananas and peanuts and that ain't gonna do it. And all the red asses that you can find in a tree and hump, that may be your concept of heaven down here. So why, as a human, do you think you have a more complex idea of heaven than a monkey? So the idea is to say nothingness. Chaos is not havoc. That's 2 different things. The chaos realm represents before creation. So unlimited potential, where all things exist.
Right.
The chaos realm. Now, we go into the chaos based upon us being able to come down here and create. So what we do is with chaos, we go into the chaos realm to bring it down into formation, to crystallize it into a thought. The same thing that happened to your energy. You are crystallized down here. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
This process is a corruption and considered demiurge thought. It is the ego. It is the ego itself. Now, most people think the ego, if I say, shut up, bitch, you don't know what I know. Yeah, that's the ego, but that's not in the occult. That's not what you're trying to fight. So it's funny when people go, oh, you got an ego. I'm like, you're too stupid to even realize it don't matter. You're supposed to have an ego. Humanity itself is the ego. For instance, the fact that you flinch, the fact that you jump, the ego is here to protect you. A fly, a roach has an ego. That's why it runs when the light comes on. Humanity itself is the ego. What you're trying to do as best you possibly can in your work is try to abstain from humanity or human thought. Understand the concept now. When you see people die from Haiti, and you have a whole bunch of people that die, your human bleeding heart, that's actually the ego that you're actually trying to fight in your consciousness. To be able to accept and understand that transition is what you were doing in your work. Everyone has to put on a face.
Right.
In humanity, you're not going to avoid it. Now, and I don't want to go too much on the ego because it could be a whole show.
Right.
But you would kind of say the true letting go of the ego is when you leave Earth and never come back.
Right, right.
Now, that's really letting go of the ego, when you get outside of the circles of attachment. So when you want to save the kids, save the baby, save the this, save the that, you are better job, better house, better. I want to be puffed down.